All right. Good morning, Freedom Team. This is our last one for the year. We're not going to be back till January. Next week is Christmas Eve, and then New Year's Eve after that. The year has flown by. Oh my gosh, it is
Uh-huh.
just flying. So anyway, hopefully everybody's getting ready for Christmas. Good holidays. Appreciate you being here. We've done a lot of these now. We've done this now for about 3 years. We got just an archive of just phenomenal training. Sean's done a couple of these, so it's good to have him back. He reached out to us here a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, I'd love to come back. I got a couple more things I'd love to talk about," and it's always good when that happens. So, Sean, how many times have you Icon now here at EXP?
I gotta count my trophies. No, not. Just give me a second. There's seven.
Seven
No,
times.
I lied. I lied. Six in
Times
6 years.
Icon.
Yeah.
So an
Wow.
icon agent at EXP guys, those are the big agents. I mean, these guys are the ones they're producing. They're doing a ton of deals. You know, for those of you a part of EXP, if you're not part of EXP, it's great to have you with us. You're always welcome at these. An icon agent is someone who caps and they do an additional 20 deals, and EXP rewards them by giving all their cap back in stock, which is pretty awesome. That was a game changer for me coming over here, realizing I could get over 100%. So anyway, very, very cool when that happens. And Sean's done that 6 times. Sean, you got a lot of stock. You're
Yeah,
sitting close.
slightly.
A couple of them. A couple stocks.
That's awesome. So anyway, guys, just a great agent, runs a team, had his own brokerage down there. He's part of EXP, been here now for obviously 6, 7 years, doing great stuff. So Sean, I appreciate you coming on, reaching out to us. You've done some great things in your business, the way you run your business, and I'm just going to turn it over to you. You can take it away. So appreciate you being here, man.
Of course. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Sean and Kathy. I've known you guys for ever since I started. So I've known you guys for 6 years or so. I used to go to the events and we would connect in person. But I ended up with too many babies and traveling has been a lot more of a challenge, right? So I've got 4 kids at this point, that are 3, 5, 8, and 10. My third one, she's 9 now. She's turned 9 3 days ago.
Oh,
So I
wow.
got 4 kids, all pretty much under 10. So a lot of hands-on. Um, and I love coming on here. I've done a couple of the events here. I think I did one on open houses. I did another one on a topic that nobody talks about, which is how to maximize profitability by reducing income and increasing expenses based on your reporting and everything you do with the IRS. No one ever talks about that. So I did one of the trainings on that topic to help you guys improve profitability. This one is one I'm probably the most passionate about. I spend more energy and time in this particular space. It really has a lot to do with your sphere of influence, right? That's what, I think for all of us, we would prefer to work with people we know, trust, and respect, right? I mean, who doesn't? I don't have to make conversions. I don't have to, convince you to work with me. And I think that's just a really comfortable space to work in. And I want to talk about how we build up that database and then how we stay in front of them. It's fine to have 1,000 people that know you, but they're not going to remember you're selling real estate. I'm going to tell you a little story that I went through and experienced that exact thing because I thought everybody knew I sold real estate, right? I'm a 6-time icon, right? I sell 100 houses a year. No, I have people that are very close to me that will make real estate decisions without even talking to me. And I think every person on this call, if you sell more than about 10 a year, has absolutely experienced that, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. One thing is I normally do a PowerPoint and things like that. I'd kind of rather talk through it with you and not use the PowerPoint for this space. I'm going to talk about a community that I've set up at the very end that you're welcome to connect with me. It's a free community. And I'll put that on the screen. But beyond that, I'm going to kind of talk through this and have some conversations with you guys, okay? The way I kind of think about the real estate business is I've divided basically in 3 phases for me. I think you're looking at averaging about 1 transaction a month. Our focus is to see if we can build our buckets without having to spend money. That's one of my very first spaces I stay in. I call it success without spending. And that's where we have referral options. We have open house opportunities. We have sphere of influence opportunities, and we build this out. And our goal is to build out enough funnels to start building a business on. I think every agent can benefit from that. I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm just kind of giving to you in phases. That's the very first phase that I look at. Then I'm looking at really building out that sphere of influence. Now you can start day one on sphere of influence, but you've got to have enough people to connect with and relate with. So I kind of look at that as a little bit separate phase, averaging about 2 transactions a month. That's a good place to focus with what I'm going to talk about today, which is success in your sphere. And then the very last thing, which I'm not talking about today, is how do we build a sustainable, scalable business? I personally close about 10 transactions a month, and I cannot do that by myself. So you have to have certain systems and things in place. And that's going to be my next phase that I'm going to go through at some point in the future, not covering that today. The only thing I'm going to talk about today is the sphere of influence. Shaune and I were talking offline before this, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself at a high level. I built a business that is a referral-based business. I don't work weekends. I don't work evenings. I don't know how many of you that are selling real estate as real estate agents know what that means or how to experience that. I also I'm working a lot right now because I'm building out a lot of training material and coaching material, and I do a lot of podcasts and interviews. So that's where a lot of my time and energy is. So I'm working actually a little more, but I work in an office Monday through Friday, and I go home at 4 o'clock and I go pick up my daughter and my son at the elementary school, and I come home and I don't have any phone calls going on in the evening. I'm not going to tell you the secrets on how to do that yet. That's going to have to be a future lesson, but I'm painting this picture for you that it is absolutely possible to experience and live that way as a real estate agent. Right now, I host the #1 podcast for real estate agents in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth. It's our special marketplace here, and it's called Real Estate Success DFW with Shaune Corbett. I've been doing that for just a short time. I've got about 10 or 12 interviews already loaded in, and it's starting to pick up quite a bit of traction. I just interview successful agents, and then I ask them, what's their passion? Why do you do what you do? What's exciting? And I think that resonates with anyone on here that's in the space. We all have something that really drives us to do this business. I'm the founder of the school platform, the Real Estate Success DFW community that I have on school. Currently, I average the top 0.5% nationally. I currently have sold over 300 million locally, and I've done about 500 plus transactions. And 95% of my closings are sphere of influence. Okay. Why do we want to invest in the sphere? Why do we want to put our time and energy in this space? Because you got to have a why. If I'm going to set up a system and I want to get all of my energy focused on that system, whatever it is. I mean, some of you may do FSBOs, you may do short sales, you may do expired listings. I'm certainly capable of doing those things, but they never drove me and got me excited enough to build a system. The sphere of influence, every person on here should really make that a part of their mission. You can take it the way I've done it, or you can come up with your own way to stay in front of your sphere, but they're the easiest clients to work with. And we're going to talk about why it's so magical, building out that sphere, and why it's so important to you. We're going to talk about who should be included in your sphere. Maybe not everybody needs to be in that sphere. How do we build our sphere? What can we do right now? And what we're going to be doing moving forward to continue to build it. You don't build it once. A lot of the work is up front, but a sphere of influence is something that's alive, a living object, right? Or something that's going to grow as you build. I make it a personal mission to add 3 to 5 people to my sphere every week. And we're going to talk about what that looks like. How do we stay in front of them? That's the core component that most of us are totally failing on. And it's mainly because you just don't think about it. You don't make it a part of your business. And I really want you to think about how to make it a real part of your business. I'll tell you what it's not. It's built on relationships, but what it's not cold calling. It's not door knocking. It's not postcards. It's not FSBOs. It's not expired listings. It's not even a pay for lead program. I don't have any of those things. Okay. I'm closing 100 transactions a week, and I'm not, or a year. I wish it was a week. No, I don't. Actually, I don't think I want to do that many. I think that'd be too much for most of us, but I'm comfortably doing it. I'm not working a lot of extra hours to do it. And I don't have any of these things in place to build my database. You don't need to invest to do this. And I'll tell you what's insane is every one of you people on here, every one of you agents, right? Y'all probably can easily add a 40 referral a year program. Okay. Every one of you, all you need is 300 people that are in your primary database. Okay. And we're going to qualify that. We're going to qualify the database. I'm going to eventually get some interaction from you guys, but right now I'm just kind of setting the pace because I want to get some feedback on what you think about some of these things. You work with your schedule. You work with people you want to work with. Okay. Let's see what else did I want to cover. We want to work with people that like, trust, and respect. Let's start with that. Sphere of influence. If I asked you, what is sphere of influence? It's probably too many people will probably use the chat. I think that might work a little better. Can you post in chat, what does sphere of influence? Who would fit in that space? Let's get some thoughts in here. Friends is certainly a good start. Thank you, Jeff. And family, personal connections. Nick, do you think you could expand on that a little bit? Can you jump on for a second?
Hello, sure. I think it means to me people that I have met face to face, maybe at an event or a party, things like that. Like something that I do. I go to networking events and I meet people that are like me, people that I can be friends with.
That's a good start. It's very good. And I'll tell you, when I talked about building this living organism, right? Are you only going to one party? Are you only going to one event? I think most of us have the opportunity to go to a lot of different things. And when you go, make it a mission to at least take an email and a phone number from one person there. You don't have to blast it. You don't have to make it beyond that, but make it a personal connection. I do like personal connections. We've got neighbors, acquaintances from kids' activities. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Kaylin, you were talking about people from kids' activities. I look at primary and secondary, and I actually separate my sphere of influence in that space. Okay. I have, we've got dance, we've got gymnastics, we've got soccer, we've got lacrosse. And I think a lot of you understand and relate to those things. And people might know of me, but maybe it's not a deep enough relationship where I would put them in my primary sphere of influence. Okay. I'm going to use some language that kind of helps separate this in your mind, the difference between someone that might fit in your primary versus your secondary. People that you meet and work with at church. Church is a very good space to have good relationships that people you know and have known for a long time. Kathy says, anyone that knows who you are. I like that, Kathy. Do you have anything to expand on that? Because that could be a very small number of people. It could be a very large number of people. Who do you think? Go ahead.
People you said, for sure, just friend, family, church, but anybody that would know my name, if somebody said Kathy, then I feel like that's somebody that could be a sphere. Whether we want them to be in our sphere or not, we get to choose. But I think anybody that would know my name, if somebody said it, is what I consider my sphere.
Okay, I love it. Thank you, Kathy. I'll tell you I'll give you an example. So when I got into real estate, I didn't build the real estate in order to even get to this point. That wasn't my mission in real estate. I got a broker's license 3 years after I got my real estate license, just so I could sell houses for a builder. And the builder, they were selling $1 million homes. And I said, hey, I'll make you a deal. Pay for all of my expenses, including my annual continuing ed, my broker fees, and all that. And I'll sell your houses for free. And we came to agreement. They said, sure. And that's actually how I got into real estate. I never worked for a big box brokerage. I didn't work for any training programs or anything that taught me how to do a lot of these things. I just decided, what would make sense if I were a client? How would I want to be received, and how would I like, to the transaction to go? And I kind of started building it one step at a time. And I was, showing houses and writing contracts. And then eventually someone said, hey, I want to sell a house. I said, okay, well, I don't have any signs, so I guess I'll go buy a sign. And, I'll stick a sign in the yard and do it the old fashioned way, wait for people to call, and I'll sell it. That's really where I started in real estate. That's probably about 17 years ago. And eventually it grew into people wanting to join me and join my brokerage. So I accepted them and I just made up splits. I didn't even know how splits worked. I said, I'll give you 70-30 for things that I give you. I'll give you 80-20 for things that you work. And I ended up with about 6 or 7 agents early on. And they wanted training and they wanted a CRM and they wanted websites. And I started figuring out all these things like, oh my gosh, I got to keep up a lot of stuff to do this. So I had to build all those things out. And but where I'm going with all this is I did this kind of in a slow grow space, and I never really thought about following up and staying connected with my sphere of influence. I just had people call me and want to do deals. And it wasn't until when we had that crash in real estate transactions about 2 years ago, is where it started for me. I started realizing that people that I thought know, trust, and like or respect me, they weren't calling me for real estate. And I didn't know why. And it really frustrated me that, I have close family members, I have close friends, and they didn't even think to call me. It's because I wasn't top of mind. And my next door neighbor, I'll give you one story. I don't want to get too far into this, but my next door neighbor, they were asking me, because I do a lot of real estate investing and I coach people on how to, build a portfolio of real estate. And they were saying, hey, we're interested in divesting and getting a HELOC, or just divesting and investing in real estate. How do we do it? I recommend them get a HELOC. I said, get a HELOC. Low interest rate. It's a line of credit. You draw what you need. You pay back when you're ready. Very low payments. Very easy way to get into real estate. So you're basically divesting from your own home and reinvesting in other real estate. So you're staying in the space and you're multiplying your equity growth. Now your equity growth is on 2 houses, not just one. And they love that idea. Said, great, let's do it. So they ended up getting out about $250,000. And in the middle of getting all that done, I even got their appraisal done. I got everything worked out for them. I really got them hooked up. And they got done. They end up having a life circumstance happen, and they had to make a change. They could not buy an investment property anymore. They ended up going to an open house randomly, on the spot, signed a buyer rep agreement with another agent, and then ended up getting a new build that was, I think, 1.2 million. Okay. And then they came back and told me the next weekend, hey, this is what we're doing now. We had to change our mind because we had a life circumstance. This is, well, I sell real estate for a living, right? Why would you call someone else? I just set you up with a HELOC. I got you an investment opportunity. I showed you how we can divest. And they said, I didn't know you sold real estate. I'm telling you, that was when I said, no more. That's not happening again. So I started reading and I started finding out, how do I effectively stay in front of people without making them mad at me, right? We're not going to call all of our friends every day and ask them if they're going to buy or sell a house. And I knew that wasn't something I was going to do anyway. So I read a book by a guy named Brian Eisenhower, and he wrote a book called Building a Real Estate Agent Sphere of Influence. Okay. It's an Audible. I don't read, I do Audible. I do Audible every morning. I get up early in the morning before my kids and my family, and I work out. And while I'm doing that, I'm listening to books. And at this season, I wanted to absolutely figure out sphere of influence. And most of you probably know Gary Keller spent quite a bit of time in his Millionaire Agent book talking about the importance of staying in front of your sphere of influence and how many people to touch to get a certain amount of referrals. I'm going to tell you the math today, because that changes, right? Back in the day, you probably could have touched all your referrals, every couple of months and been totally fine. But now there's so much information out there. You actually effectively have to touch them 40 times a year. And because we have systems and we have processes and things that we have in place that we can do that, we can all do that. And it's not near as difficult as you might think it is. So that's where I made that realization what I needed to do. Okay. So I started with my own database. So I want to get into, well, let me tell you where I'm at now. I officially started my 40 touch campaign 1 year ago. Okay. It was spring of last year. I read the book. It took me 2 months to go through all of my contacts and define what they all are. And we're going to talk briefly about how to do that. And I currently have 700 plus people in my primary database. Okay. I'm going to tell you what primary means. It's very important. For every 7 people in my database, I get 1 referral. So our numbers are 1, 7, and 40. Okay. 1, 7, and 40. I get 1 referral every 7 primary on 40 touches a year. That's the formula that we're working with today. And he just came out with the book updated. That's where he's at. I've actually seen some of the material and stuff he's using. He's still holding that same value. And Gary Keller's was very similar. It's a little, his was a lower number because this was done 10, 15 years ago. But he interviewed, thousands and thousands of agents to kind of put all that book together and come up with his vision of what it took to be a successful agent. And
Shaune, what's the name of the
yep.
book? I'm sorry, what's the name of the book?
It is, let me find it one more time. It's How to Build Your Sphere of Influence. Let me find
How
it.
to Build Your Sphere.
Building a Real Estate Agent Sphere of Influence, Brian Eisenhower.
Gotcha. Thank you.
If somebody can look it up, they can just post it in things. And Shaune used the phrase, need to get your name in front of people 40 times a year. Okay. And it's not just, we're going to send them all text and blast them constantly. There's a system, and 40 touches, I'm going to talk about what touches are. You know what? Let's do that. That's a good transition. If I told you I needed to touch people 40 times a year, what do you consider to be a touch? Let's post that in chat. Anything. What kind of touch do you think would be a good touch? A text, call, mailing, email? All those are fantastic. Thank you, Kaylin. I'm sure that's probably the book there. Yeah, there you go. Sphere of Influence, Brian. Call, mail, email, text, greeting cards. Right? Greeting cards could be birthday. Right? You guys have systems already in place. Most of you send out a birthday card. Most of you do a lot of these things kind of already, but we're going to systematize it. Twice a year, your postcard and your Christmas card is not going to be enough to stay relevant to most of your audience. I love it. Newsletters. I haven't seen anyone say CMAs. Huh? Isn't that what we're in the business of selling real estate? It's okay. I like the video CMA, Jeff. Have y'all ever heard of the CMA a day? Have y'all seen that system? I don't know if you've ever done the training on here.
We've talked about it some. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, the video CMAs work phenomenal.
I'll give you a sampling of it because you can really get pretty well invested in this. You might have 100 names. I'm going to do a CMA once a day, for 5 days. Do it the same thing next week and rotate them all. But the CMA is, I'm going to do a video CMA. I'm going to put it on my screen. I'm going to show your neighborhood. Here's your sales. And it's so specific and targeted to that person that they're going to open it. Do you think you would stay relevant in front of them if you gave them a video CMA, even if they're not looking to buy or sell? This is just information. I want to make sure you have it. Save this email. It's going to be valuable for you.
Or is that, is it HomeBot that you can get in connection with your lender that does that as well? It's not a video CMA, but it's a pretty interactive CMA that gives, each month it goes out and it says your value's home. And I'm on my lenders, and every month I'm in the business, and every month I get that, I open it because I'm curious, like what it's reporting out. So
HomeBot's excellent. $25 a month,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do use HomeBot. I'm a very, very big fan of HomeBot. HomeBot's not really so much about the value of your property. What makes it really special, because there's 1,000 programs that do value. The value of HomeBot, it's actually a lender-based program. And it's driven by the lender. It's actually not looking at the value, it's looking at the equity. And that's a big subtle difference, right? So the objective is now we're going to be looking at not your house as a place to live, not just pure emotion, but it's an investment. We want to watch that investment grow. What can we do with the equity? What if we rented your house out by the day? 99% of our clients would never even think about that. But now you introduced a new opportunity for them to think about their house as an investment, not just a place to live. These are subtle changes that has major impact on you. And I get about an 80% click rate on my HomeBot system, and I've got about 400 names in there. That's a really good value add, and 400, I have 700 in my primary. 400 means, husband and wife. I don't send it to both. It's hard to build that database up. And I'll tell you what, I have lenders that'll pay 100%. It's $25 a month is what it costs you. I think maybe up to 500 names or something. What do you got, Jeff?
It's something like that. Yeah, we got a bunch of people in there. It's awesome that work because once you set it up, it just runs. It's automatic, So there's 12 touches right there because it goes out once a month. You can go on there and see everybody's interaction. The thing I love about it is the open rate. We get about a 60 to 70% open rate on those emails, which is unheard of in any kind of email marketing. That's the great thing about it. People really look at those, so they're awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, there's almost no system you can come up with that would even come close to that open rate. Even my newsletters aren't even close to that. So my delay, this is real important. We talk about action, right? The delay for me to start, I decided in the spring. It took me 2 months, go through my database, and then I went to, I had to come up with a newsletter. Okay. How many of us, and this is where you probably really relate, know that you should make video content consistently every week, and you don't do it? I mean, everyone on here has heard this, but we don't do it. And why don't we do it? Well, we don't know what we're going to sound like. We don't know what we're going to look like. We're not comfortable with it. We're getting in front of a camera. This is not a usual thing for us to do, and it's uncomfortable. I did the same thing on the newsletter. I wanted it to be professional. I wanted it to come from someone that's selling 100 houses a year. And I wanted to make that impact. And it took me 3 more months to decide on some type of system to get it going. So don't do that. I use Keeping Current Matters. It's the system I use. There are probably better systems, more organic systems, but it allowed me to create videos, it allowed me to post, and allowed me to connect with my database, and they have good content. Everyone on here, you're welcome to use it because your audience is not my audience. We're not sending out the same information. A lot of us get this thing in our mind. Well, if everybody's using Keeping Current Matters, then everyone's getting the same information. No, your audience is not my audience. And I can promise you everyone in my audience probably is getting no touches from any realtor. And you remember that too, okay? 99.9% of agents are not doing this. They're not staying in front of their audience. They're not systematizing their systems, their prospects. And this makes you infinitely better, and you're not spending money to do this. The hardest thing for you to do all of this is setting up that initial database. It's painful, but it's worth it. Okay, I want to talk about that in just a moment. Think about closings that you've done. If you really want to get another mindset aspect and why you would drive to build your why, think about closings that you've done. Do you have clients that you would rather not ever work with again? Surely we have clients out there that we'd prefer not to. And then think about the ones you would want to work with again. That normally falls the in and out of your sphere of influence most of the time. And that's important as a distinction, especially the ones that you want to work with again, you want to stay in front of because they will probably bring you other people that you want to work with. But the cold leads, the Zillow stuff, they're fine. They're transactional based. I had a transaction with them, and that's my relationship with them. And they are on Zillow looking for houses because they don't have a relationship with anyone else. And there's a reason for that a lot of times. It's not because they're wonderful, easygoing people. It's because they don't want to spend any more time in this than they have to, and they're not interested in the relationship. So it really helps build that why. Why would I invest heavy into a sphere of influence touch system? It's because you want to find people you want to work with. I'll tell you one thing, it's not sustainable. And I have this as a closing comment. It's not sustainable I don't think, okay, this is my opinion, but to spend the $1,000 a month on postcards working with people you don't know, you don't have a relationship with, do that for 15 or 20 years. You think you'd be burned out, I would think. I've never been there. I didn't have to do it, but some of us have enough energy with people that we can start all the way over every day. I would rather just work with people that know, like, and trust me, and again, everyone has a different kind of space for this, but I would rather work with people that know, like, and trust me. You can tell an agent success by the size of their database. Okay. Now I'm applying it to agency. It applies in almost everything, especially in sales. If you have a small database, you're probably going to have a small referral group, and that's going to directly impact your success. You want to build a very strong primary base. And this one lead source, your primary base, will give you 100,000 a year in GCI. No problem. Very, very easy. All right, let's talk about primary. What does primary? So we have primary and secondary. I wanted to make that distinction. I love one of the examples from before. I mentioned all these teams and clubs that we're in. I'm also in the PTA. I do watchdogs at my school. They all know me, but they don't really know me. I can't add them to lists and start sending them CMAs and ask them to be my client, right? I don't have that relationship at that point. So I always try to define and separate primary from secondary. My very first criteria, and some of you were kind of leading to it, is do they know you by first name and do you know them by first name? That's usually a really good starting point. Okay? Really good starting point. I have people I've known for 35 years. I know their first name and they know me by first name. I know them. You know, maybe they never bought a house from me, but I'm probably going to add them into HomeBot. And I've done that. I probably added 50 people into HomeBot that have never bought a house with me, but they all know me by first name. I know them by first name. Okay. I'm just giving you an example of how you can really expand on this pretty quick when you systematize it. You don't think about it if you don't make a system of it. You just flow and you go with the time. Family, friends, church, prior work relationships could be good. Clubs are okay if you have a good relationship within that space. I even put adult sports in here. Some of you are still playing golf and tennis and soccer, and you see them every single week. You could probably get away with some of those situations and circumstances. They're just ideas. Another core thing is if you reached out to them and called them, would it be unusual? You know, like Sean's moved away. I haven't seen him in 3 years probably. I could call Sean. Now, granted, we're in business together, but I could call him and talk about nothing about EXP, and he and I would get on great. That type of relationship, right? You know, because I've known him for a long time. You know, it's just good to have people that it wouldn't be unusual. You know, and if we ever get in, and we'll get to the phone call space, but the phone call is really important. We're not going to talk about real estate. We're just going to see how they're doing. The whole thing is being top of mind, not, you know, what can you do for me? And in no way in any of my content that I put out, am I looking for anything that I'm looking for someone to do for me. I'm giving them free advice, free opportunity, free education. Here's how I would offer this. I've got contractors for you. I give them solutions, and I'm not asking them for business. The whole thing is to be someone you like, trust, and respect, and you touch them 40 times a year, and you don't bring up a sales opportunity. You can also include, you know, in my database, I include people that are lender partners, title companies, inspectors, insurance people, providers. I've got in my insurance guy, contractors. And you might think, you know, they all want realtor business. All of them are chasing us. And if your relationship's good with a lot of them and you take good care of your clients, every one of these categories for me, I get referrals directly from them. Now, they're not allowed to tell anyone because 90% of their business is from realtors, but they call me personally and hand me people. Those are still networks and people you can relate to and work with. So let's talk about the categories. This might be a little hard for you to kind of imagine, but if you were to divide out your database, can you think of some categories you could separate them in? I'm going to give you the first one as primary. People know you by first name and you know them by first name. Outside of that, you're going to want to divide your database into at least 3 or 4 categories. Can you think of some categories that you would want to tag people in your database? Like, I'm not even separating family. I'm putting family in my primary. What do you got, Sean?
I would say, when you think of all your children that are in sports and stuff, I think that'd be a whole nother category of everybody you've met through your children's events.
That's good. No, you're going in the right direction. Yes. You're actually going in the right direction of where I'm going with this. It's perfect. That's good. But we may have a category for that group, right? And it may not be because you need them in your phone, like, or, my son, he's got, because he's now 10, now I'm starting to connect with parents, and now I have to get the parents' contact information to make sure I know who they are and know where they live and all those things. I'm probably not necessarily including them in my primary, but I got to have a relationship with them, right? Is there another category you guys might want to track? Maybe people that we need, but we may not send out primary contact info. This is a little harder space to think through, but how about agents? You guys plan on sending agents primary contact information stuff? Probably not, but you need them in your phone. And I think for, I know Jeff, Kathy, and Shaune that are business builders of RevShare, it'd be good to collect agents in your phone. I thought about that years ago. I've got about 1,500 agents in my phone that I have both primary contact information and email, and I don't send them newsletters. You could, but I don't. I mean, there's not any reason to, because they're not going to obviously call me for business. Do you have another comment, Shaune?
No, I'm just sitting here kind of thinking of all the different kind of categories. So no, I'm just curious kind of where you're going with it, breaking them down.
I mean, for
Kathy's got
sure, your
past-
past clients, I just put that in there. I mean, you want them in a category. You may treat them a little different than some other subcategory, or I do. I might.
I like that. This is where you can really get detailed in a system. I'm a little bit more on the efficient side. I would rather be okay sending every person that knows me by first name, I know them by first name, my newsletter, connect with them on social media, set them up with HomeBot. Client or no client, if I know them by first name, they know, and I want to work with them. There are people I don't want to have anything to do with, don't include in there, because they'll call you for things. I've got a couple of them that call me, and I'm really uncomfortable talking to them because I don't want them to work with them. We got vendors, very good one. So I'm going to cover those. So I'll kind of move this along. So we got primary. I call a category secondary. Secondary is what Shaune's referring to. People that we still want to touch. Maybe we don't give them more of the intimate personal things that we share, but we still want to talk with them or touch them or stay in front of them, because at some point they're going to need to buy or sell. And maybe they wouldn't think of me top of mind, but I still want to stay in front of them. That would be people that I would put in the secondary. And I separate my primary from my secondary. Maybe Kathy's idea of past clients versus future clients. Maybe we can separate them in that space. But secondary are people that I may not make phone calls with, text. Maybe I don't hit them 40 times, but I still want them to get a newsletter. Vendors. That's another category that I use, and I call it other. Now, I have vendors that I want on my primary because I know they give me deals, and I want them to always remember me, even though they've got 100 other agents they work with. They're getting good, organic, personal information from me at the same time, and it costs me nothing to keep them on the list, right? But vendors would be like, you've got to have your doctor in your phone, you got to have a dentist in your phone, you got to have an attorney, or different attorneys, depending on your business. I don't necessarily need to send them in my primary, but I got to keep them on my phone. And this is important because we don't need 18 systems to do this. I'm going to give you the cheat code. I only use my phone. I don't even have a CRM. Okay. CRMs are for cold touch systems. I don't have a CRM. I have 𝐘𝐸, but I don't use it. I use it for cold touches, because I get opportunities, but that's not my system that I'm managing and touching and being active in. I know I'm going to touch everyone through newsletters. I know I'm going to touch everyone through HomeBot. I know I'm going to touch everybody certain ways. And I consistently go through and pick up the ones that I haven't talked to in a while, and I regularly touch them. But I don't have a CRM managing any of this stuff. And I'm not telling you don't have to do it that way. That's just the way I do it. And I get a referral every day on 700 people. And I'm just now entering my first solid year after doing this for 1 year. I get a referral every day. I close about 8 transactions a month on just sphere of influence. Now, a referral every day doesn't turn into a closing every day. Y'all know this. You feel them out. They're not ready to buy. They're just handed to you, and you still got to qualify them and work them through the system. But I'm still closing, 8 transactions on just sphere of influence so I know it works. So our 4 categories that I have set up: primary, secondary, other, and agent. An agent's optional for you guys if y'all want to connect a database of agents, because right now, starting in January, actually, I've already started. I'm doing the exact same system for agents. I have 1,500 agents in my database, and I'm going to send them and touch them 40 times a year. Just FYI, there's no reason why it wouldn't. It may not get the same results, maybe it's less, but it's something. And it's systematized, and I've already done it once. I can do it again. It doesn't cost me much time and energy to figure it out. Your database is your future. I use an app called Contact Plus. When you're in the process of doing the hardest thing you're going to do, building that database, you've got to manually go through your phone, and it's very painful. It's easier to use an app that works on a web page. I use something called Contact Plus. I think it's $100 a year. You guys know Contact Plus?
Mm-mm.
Guess it doesn't hurt to share my screen. Let's chat GPT. Here we go. Jeff, can you give me a thumbs up? You got it? You see it? Okay. This is so fun. Literally, I'm not kidding. I told you I add 3 to 5 a week. I mean, I'm just looking at this right here. These last few, I just added in the last 3 days, 4 days. Megan, Anna, Ollie. Ollie's an agent, high-performing agent, very sharp. I'm going to do a podcast interview with him. Julie, she's a producer for Real Producers. Not going to go in my primary. Jack Giblin, Earl referral. It's one of my buddies. He's absolutely going in my primary. Nate Nelson, it's a guy I've known for 35 years. He's going in my primary. You know, I just haven't connected with them until just now. I got his contact and everything. These are just examples. But this system allows me to enter and I can assign them. You see over here, it says tags, agent, other, primary, and secondary. How many agents do I have? It can pull all just agents. How many primary do I have? It can pull all just primary. And I can export them out real easy. What makes this really special is it's live with my phone. I use an iPhone. It works on Google. It works live on my phone. Every change I make on my phone shows up on Contact Plus. And the reason why I use Contact Plus is 2 primary reasons. One, it makes managing this way easier than trying to do this on your phone. Okay. And 2, it allows me to do whatever I want with a live database of contacts. I can transfer it into BombBomb, for example. That's how I do my newsletters. I use BombBomb. I take my database, I put it into BombBomb, and I say, you know what? I'm only going to hit my primary and my secondary this time. And you run them separate. If I put them together, that means this guy right here has been tagged on both. So I got to fix that. But I'll run my primary, take it out, and then run my secondary. And then I export it into, and I don't do any of this. I recommend having a VA or admin. I think most of you known me for a long time. Jenny's my admin. She's been with me for 10 years, and she's phenomenal. So she does all this for me, but it allows me to take that list, put it in there, and then I can set it out for the month. It also has assistant that goes in and looks up LinkedIn and verifies the information and then updates it. Right now, I'm up to date on my assistant, but it also will go in there. It looks for duplicates, right? I might have an email that imports into this, and I have my phone, and it realizes, wait a minute, you got the same person with 2 different types of information. Do you want it to all clean up? And it cleans it up for you. And when it does it here, it does it on your phone, okay? I want to beat it down. Anyone have questions on Contact Plus or your contacts in your phone?
So it basically, Shaune, sounds like a CRM just in your phone, or at least similar to. So all your notes, everything is inside of there. It keeps all that same as a CRM.
It tracks all of those individual fields, yes. Well, a CRM is a system of staying in front of your database, right? There's none of that in that. It's just a contact system. It's not going to do anything inherently on its own. It just allows me to manage my contacts. You still need a system if you want to consistently stay in front of people and do things like that. That's what CRMs are for. It's a touch system. I always think about, because I think about the why and the psychology of things. I always think of like KV Core or any of those. It's a database until someone is ready to do something, then you don't need it anymore. Do y'all follow me? Like it's a cold base lead drip system until you don't need it. I don't need it to constantly send messages and tell me what's going on with the person I'm talking with and writing contracts for. I'm already past all that. I don't need it anymore. It's just a system to stay in front of people. That's kind of why I don't do CRMs, because I don't have cold base touch systems. I do relational systems, and I touch people that know, like, and trust me. That's more important to me. And it's just easier for me. Any other questions on Contact Plus? You're going to be missing information. You're going through your database. I'm going to give you some things you're going to run into. What happens when you don't have an email address for a contact? You got a good relationship with them. You got a good close friends you've known for 15 years. You've never had a reason to email them. What do you think, Shaune?
I think
you're not mic'd, or you don't mute, so I get to ask you.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you want to get that. Are you asking about how to go about getting it? What do you ask?
Yeah.
Simply ask. They're a friend of ours. Hey, man, let's stay in touch. Every once in a while, I come across some stuff that I think could be of value to you. And what's your email address?
I would ask everyone, but it's already almost 50 after. The easiest way I think is, hey, I even sent a text. I said, hey, I'm updating my contacts. You might go your direction. Hey, I've got some things that I think would be of value for you to see. I'm updating my contacts. Do you mind if I get that from you? Even a simple conversation like that can kind of get that cleared up, whatever you're missing. I'll tell you the most important thing to collect in any relationship, especially cold relationships, but all relationships, is the email address. And it's still true today. It may not be true in 10 years because we might move away from email or using email for certain things. I think it's almost more important on a touch-based system than getting the phone number. And there's some really specific reasons why, but it's mainly because email usually attaches to almost all of their system. And I don't want their business email. I don't want their professional email. I want their personal email. We're going to ask for personal email because that usually stands the test of time, where you change jobs and things like that pretty often. I'm currently updating my contacts on my phone, and I don't have one for you. Do you mind if I get that? Thanks. That normally works pretty well, especially if your relationship's good. They don't even think about it. They'll even forget they gave it to you because you have a good relationship with them. All right, touch systems. We talked about setting up our database, splitting it all up. Do you have touch systems that you think would be good to stay in front of people? You've already got a few of them. You said HomeBot. We talked about CMA a day. I think it's a powerful one. We talked about newsletters. Anyone else have any other thoughts on good ways to stay in front of people in the touch system?
Well, we talked about this a little bit, but birthdays, anniversary, home anniversary, if they're past clients, if you're friends on Facebook and you see special things that are going on in their world, sending a card or text
It
or
reminds me of what
something.
Nick had shared with us a couple weeks ago. We had the AI training, and he talked about sending out like through AI, you can find here's the top 5 things going on in Colorado Springs this weekend, and to send that out to people, different city things that you could do, different events like that, just even to get the word out to people. Like, it was just a simple thing, but
I did an
value.
interview with a lady, and she's hyper local. She sends out a newsletter. It is not, how's the market? Here's what's going on with the election and how it affects things. None of that. It's, you want to have fun, go here. And it's like right down the street. Like, she's hyper local. So know your business. If your business is really surrounded with people that you have that hyper local, which is incredibly powerful because that's highly connective, right? The more organic and personal you are, the higher the connection. That's really, really effective. My market is so large. Dallas-Fort Worth is a very large space. So, and I have people that will buy and sell and invest and do things like this, and they're not that hyper local. I don't even sell that much in my own city. It is just, I solve real estate problems based on client needs, not hyper local. So that's just been my space and where I've been. but that's really, really good. You brought up, I like the home anniversary thing. So I use a system called 𝐒𝐫𝐵. Anybody heard of 𝐒𝐫𝐵?
Hmm.
Okay, 𝐒𝐫𝐵 is a gift giving system. There's a lot of them out there, and it allows me to text them directly, and they put in their likes, so they get to customize a gift that they have interest in. They could be dogs, alcohol,
How do you spell
coffee.
that, Shaune?
𝐒𝐫𝐵. It's 𝐒𝐫𝐵.ai. So they've switched it to .com, it looks like, and the new company bought them. I'll just pop it in here. Give me 1 second to make sure. It looks like it still has the little bow for their. So 𝐒𝐫𝐵 allows you to create customizable boxes, and so when I send out a gift, it comes in my own personalized box, and it has True West Realty Group, which is my realtor brand, and it looks like it's coming from me. But when it asks them questions, it asks them about their likes and interests and stuff like that, and it remembers all this. And then I send out, if I sell them a house on their home anniversary, it goes out to them. I don't do birthdays if I can. I feel like everyone's kind of playing in that space. So I send out a home anniversary because that's the relationship I have with them. That's me. And but if they didn't buy a house from me because they're moved into an apartment or they move out of town and I still want to stay in front of them, I might do a birthday, but I'll do the week before. I'll say what's better than getting a gift on your birthday, you get it a week before your birthday. I'll have a little fun with it. And that works really well. But it's just another touch system to stay in front of them. I like 𝐒𝐫𝐵. I get to set the amount, and then they pick out what they like, and it comes out to them, and it's worked out pretty well. I'm actually going to probably wrap us up about now. It's already at 10:55. I'll give you some Q&A time if you guys would like, and I'll pick up the next space in January when we move on there.
Yeah, Sean's coming back in January, guys. So we're going to do kind of a part 2.
And I'll just add, as we're sort of wrapping up, is I've often thought this is where people should spend their money in building a business, because you build a network of people who already know, like, and trust you, right? Whether it's in all these spaces that we just talked about, and you just spend all your marketing dollars to them instead of, trying to grasp cold leads, or like he said, farming will work. It takes time, to do that monthly postcard mailing and all. Everything works. But I've often thought if agents would just build a database of 300 people, your numbers are 1 in 7. I've heard statistically it's 1 in 10. So if we go statistics and it's 1 in 10, if you have a database of 300 people that you do all these things that Sean's talking about, you're going to sell 25 to 30 houses a year. And depending on what market you're in a lot of markets, that's an ICON agent if you're with EXP, right? If you want to sell 35 houses, bump it to 350 people, and then track your numbers. How many, track it for a year. Like, okay, did I sell 1 out of 10 people in my database by doing these 40 touches that Shaune was talking about? But if we really just build a systematized business, it's as simple as that. And you're dealing with people, like I just said, who already know, like, and trust you. You're building that relationship with them through the year, more and more as well. Maybe they don't know you that great in the beginning, but as you're continuing the process of the 40 touches, they're getting to know you more and more.
Shaune, how many
Yeah, go ahead.
referrals come out of that? So if you're touching those 300 clients 40 times, I'm curious how many, because obviously the database is going to grow through referrals. And I'm just curious, that many touches, how many end up coming in as referrals?
So it's an overall statistical element, right? So it's looking at, if I have 100 people, I'm going to get, X number of people per year based on 40 touches a year. It's very straightforward, simple. And that also includes buys and sells. This is number of transactions. Often we'll get a seller that also needs to buy. That's 2. And if you add up all of it, your average is X, right? So every 7 people, I get 1 referral. That's the way the math comes to it. So they've already kind of considered a lot of those things in that space. I'll answer Kaylin's quick question. 𝐒𝐫𝐵ot used to be 𝐒𝐫𝐵ot.ai. It's now owned by Jocelyn and Company, and I don't want to get too detailed in it, but they both lead to the same space. So if you want 𝐒𝐫𝐵ot, 𝐒𝐫𝐵ot's a good gift giving gun. There's other options out there. They're all the same. Those both websites we have there are both the same website. But I did want to share one last thing I wanted to make sure I left with is I've actually got a community that is available for all agents to join, and there's no cost. It's free. I use the school platform to grow the community, and it allows me to basically make myself available for all agents. So twice a week, my calendar, I've got twice a week at noon. I'm on a Zoom like this, and I answer live questions on transaction issues, anything that you have or come up with, or you have issues with on building your business. That's what I do. I'm there on noontime. I call it lunchtime with Shaune Corbett, and then it also has a community where we're posting and just asking questions and general information, stuff like that. I do have classes available for you guys. I also have my podcasts. These are the ones that are loaded in there right now, and be loading more podcasts coming. So I put the link in the chat. If you click it, it takes 30 seconds to sign up, and then you can be in that community space and have direct access to me for any questions and stuff you have. So that's really all I've got.
That's awesome, Shaune.
At least for today. Just a teaser for next time. I'm going to give you example plans. 40 touch systems. I'm going to walk you through and give real example plans. I think that's what ultimately we all want to get to. But I want to talk about building the database, what I talked about today. Then we're going to talk about how to stay in front of them without making them all mad at you.
And Shaune, if now's not the time, but the next one, again, the one that blows my mind is how have you let your clients know that, hey, past whatever, 4 o'clock when you get your kids in the weekend, that you're not working, and yet all these people still want to work with you, how that all got set up? And because to me, I would sure think if I was out selling houses, boy, if I could figure that process out, but that change everything. You'd never get burnt out. So I'm not sure.
So I love that question, right? So how do I have that relationship with my clients and things like that? The bad news is it's 11 o'clock. You're going to have to wait until the next training for me to answer your question. That's the bad news. So I'm sorry about that, but I got to give you a reason to get back on. So why and how do I manage my schedule and tell people when and where I'm going to be working, where I'm not going to be working? That's a great question. I have to wait till next time.
He doesn't work nights, he doesn't work weekends, and he sells 100 houses a year. So if you want to know how to accomplish all 3 of those things, come back next time.
Amen.
So Shaune, thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow, guys, we have the Connect to Collaborate. So same link, come back and join there, and we'll talk about, we can talk more about this, ideas you guys are utilizing already, or any other questions that y'all have. So same time, same link tomorrow. All right. Thanks, Shaune. We look forward to having you back in January.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.